Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I've posted a article on Substacks, and it's entitled "Save Face with Semitic Linguistics and Abrahamic Studies," because there's a lot in common between the Hebrew and the Arabic. Some people say that Hebrew is the oldest written language in the world. In fact, there's a theory about the Paleo-Hebrew being the original alphabet, and then the Phoenicians, they took it from the quote Paleo-Hebrew. I don't know why they say Paleo-Hebrew and not Aramaic, but okay, fine. We'll just go with Paleo-Hebrew. Now, it's argued that Arabic is the oldest spoken language. Well, it's the most preserved. If you think about the structures between the gender and how the like for example the verbs, the three root letter words and things like that. So Arabic is arguably the oldest spoken language, at least in terms of how it's been conserved throughout the desert regions. But with Paleo-Hebrew, it's argued that it's the oldest written language. In fact, the Arabic script, that is 50 years before the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ by the Nabateans, yeah. It's definitely not the oldest written language, but spoken, definitely the oldest spoken. So in terms of like the biblical studies, given that the Old Testament was primarily like Aramaic and then Hebrew, and then of course you've got the Quran in Arabic, it would make sense that if you're going to study Abrahamic languages, you're going to look at the Hebrew or the Arabic to get a better grasp or understanding of the root words, because when you get a translation, you're getting somebody else's interpretation of what the word of God is, you understand? So, that's fine if you want to trust other people, but if you're like a monotheist and if you want to like work on having a more direct relationship with the divine, it makes sense to be more self-sufficient in terms of connecting to the word and its original meaning or its root meaning. So the whole article, if you go to Substacks, you can then subscribe. So I think you got to go into Substacks, then you log in, and unless you just send me an email and I put it in for you. So the whole article in Substacks is all about how it's important actually if you're going to study religion, especially the Abrahamic religions, to get into the Semitic languages. So if you, for example, if you're not Muslim, if you're Muslim, it's obvious that you're going to do Arabic. Like that's pretty, that's obvious. But now, if you're a Christian, for example, it would be understandable if you want to go into the Old Testament to look at the Hebrew. And then from there you can go into the Arabic and the Quran. Like I'm the kind of person that I think it's important to detach from label and to kind of look at both sides, but you got to start somewhere though. When people look at too many religions at the same time, they kind of become dismissive. Whereas if you look at one at a time and you focus on one study at a time, it's like the saying, you can be a jack of all trades but a master at none. So I've noticed when people look at different religions, they tend to have like a very shallow, superficial attitude towards all the different religions. But if you focus on one religion, you take it seriously, then you can like properly absorb the spiritual lessons and the energetic value from that faith. But then ultimately you also want to be able to do a comparative study that you'll find surprisingly helps you in some areas as well. Like for example, I do find, for example, with the quote Paleo-Hebrew, like they'll say, for example, they'll call it the vav, we call it the wow. That used to be a picture of a hook or a pig. And then you'll notice in Arabic and Hebrew, people say, well, in Arabic, for example, they'll say what, which means and. And that little letter literally was a picture of a hook or a pig, which then adds or lists things as you go along. Then the B or the ba in Arabic used to be bait. Now, of course, the Arabic word bait literally means house. And then the ba, which was a bait, was literally a house. It was a picture of a house that then became a ba. And we use that word when we say like bismillah. Bi means like in something, to fortify. So like when you eat your food and you say bismillah, I'm fortifying this food in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or this action, I'm fortifying it in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that little ba was literally a fort. It was a house. So, you know, that's very significant, and it helps to, it creates an additional learning or memory peg that also enriches our understanding as well, inshallah. So, what else? Yeah, also in this article I talk about your intention, because if you're going to study religion, you have to have the right intention, but I think I'm going to leave that for the next video, inshallah. Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.